everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathe Petchel, and I'm with HINGE Advisors. I am on the business development team, and I am so excited to welcome you and our special guest, Samantha Phillips, to our webinar today. Today, you're going to be in for a treat. Samantha is a really good speaker, and she's incredibly knowledgeable about what's going on in the insurance industry right now. So today, we're going to talk about limiting liabilities, insurance coverage in childcare. I'll be moderating, and we're going to be introducing Samantha in just a minute. But first, I've got a couple really fun HINGE announcements. As most of you know, we've got lots of different services at HINGE. One thing we do really well is business valuations. Actually, we've just added to our valuation team. If you're lucky enough to have gotten into our Thrive workshop coming up in Philadelphia in May, you'll meet our two new financial analysts who join our favorite Rusty Bailey. So business valuations, certainly you can call or ask any of us about that. We also have wonderful relationships with many, many active buyers. I think that's one of the things that makes HINGE special is the way we network and the way we build relationships, not just with owners and executive directors, but also buyers. And indeed, the whole industry, like someone like Sam Phillips. And then, of course, the main thing we do ultimately is help you when you're ready to sell your school or grow it, leverage all the work you've done. So transaction management is incredibly important as well. And so in business development, I get to work with a little bit of all of that, including working with great speakers like Sam. But first, oh my gosh, our shift conferences are legendary, if I do say so myself. Last year, our shift conference sold out in 8 hours. So mark your calendar, August 1st, which is a Thursday. You're welcome to email me or text me, and I'll send you a reminder if you like, but have no fear, we'll also be reminding via email. Personally, super excited about this one. It's in Santa Barbara, California, which is near and dear to my heart because I spend quite a lot of time there. It is November 4th through 7th. You'll want to come in that Monday or even the weekend before. We typically, and we will this year, have a cocktail hour on the 4th, which is a Monday, and then 2 full days of content, and then another half day of content. Many, many people use our shift conference as obviously, if you're looking at the pictures, a little vacation, work vacation. Lots of people come in early or stay late. So I hope every one of you will mark your calendar for August 1st. While you're considering thinking about selling or growing your school, one of the easy things to do is join our QuickBooks online training. Can't say enough great things about our team that does QuickBooks, led by our gal Christine. She's got a really good team. Amazing. If you need your QuickBooks either cleaned up or just a little bit of training or coaching on it, those are your guys. The next course starts on March 19th, which is a Tuesday. I've actually had her help me with QuickBooks cleanup for my company. I'm actually a 3-site owner, as well as really full-time at HINGE with business development. But Christine is awesome, and her team is too. There's a picture of them. There's Christine on the left. We've got Stephanie and Zach. Looks like right now we're offering a free consultation. I would urge you to take her up on it. No matter where you are in the life of your business, getting a little financial coaching or having someone help you with QuickBooks that isn't in the day-to-day, sort of that emotional piece of our day-to-day, is very helpful. I can promise you'll be happy. And then, as always, this is what we do with our directors and our owners. Definitely follow us on social media. We're making a really concerted effort to update and stay in touch, let you know what our advisor team and our speakers and our exec team is doing. So I'm going to just give you a minute to scan our QR code and follow us. I think our Instagram is great. Of course, our Facebook is wonderful. And if you sign up for our shift conference, you'll be invited into our private Facebook group where you can start asking questions ahead of time. And now, without further ado, I'm super excited to introduce you to my friend Sam Phillips. She's out of Texas, so you'll love her accent. But most important, you're going to love her knowledge and also the way she presents in such a positive way. This is kind of a scary subject, and I'm just going to turn it over to you now, Sam. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll be moderating and helping you with the slides, but take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathe. One of the things that Kathe didn't mention that Shift does phenomenally, and I made sure that I wrote on my little Post-it that literally lives on my laptop until registration opens, is just the quality of content that they bring to you, not just webinars, but the in-person events. Shift is one of my favorite events to attend every year. So I really look forward not just to that, but the networking. Hinge Advisors has done a phenomenal job of bringing all of the right people in the right place at the same time. And so there's a wealth of knowledge. If you've never been before, make sure you attend. All right, so today we are talking about the super fun topic of insurance. It's really scary right now. I love that Kathe said that I have a positive way of giving y'all bad news. I guess that's a good thing. But today we're covering limiting liabilities, insurance coverage in childcare. Kathe, next slide, please. Just a little about me. I don't want to spend a lot of time here because I have a lot of information to cover for you. And it's really important to me that y'all get more value add from a webinar than you do an introduction. So I am the lead of our insurance department at Confloy. We do a lot more than just an insurance. We do payroll benefits and HR as well. I specifically run our insurance team. I am an industry expert and have worked exclusively with childcare owners since I began my insurance career in 2011. I am an advocate and resource. You will never find anybody in the insurance industry that fights as hard or is as vocal about things that are going on as I am. The resource piece of that I offer to everybody. You do not have to be a client to reach out. I believe that we all need people in our lives that complement our weaknesses. My strength is insurance. If that is a weakness for you, or if you just don't know anything, reach out. Send me a message on Facebook. I'll share my contact information at the end so you can shoot me a text, email, whatever. But if you have a question that you just aren't sure about, reach out and ask. I personally love questions, and I feel like there are no stupid questions. I would rather you know than not ask and just be without that information. And if it's something that I can't answer for you right away, rest assured I will dig for the information to try my best to help you. And then speaker by calling. Several years ago, my son was injured at the preschool program that he was enrolled in. And it was a really pivotal moment for me because it made me realize the agency that I had worked for at the time, which actually insured my son's preschool, they'd been longtime clients, and my son sustained an injury that was it was a traumatic ordeal for both of us. Won't go into too much detail because we don't have time, but that incident and then the following question that I was asked of, will our insurance cover this, was a light bulb moment for me because it made me realize that at our agency and so many other agencies, we were just blindly grooming people to sign whatever paperwork was put in front of them and basically just say, here, this is what you need, sign it. There wasn't really education around the topic. There wasn't claim scenarios that were reviewed. It was really truly just, here you go, sign this, and we'll be done for the day. And when that preschool asked me, as someone that worked at the agency, if their insurance would cover my son's injury, it made me realize that there needed to be a more compassionate and educational approach to insurance in this market. I started looking around and realized there wasn't anybody that had y'all's back. So I set out to change that. Next slide, please. All right, so we are going to start as soon as we advance the slide. We'll start with the polls. This is just a brief review of what we plan on going through. I'll take you through some trends in childcare insurance right now, how to get your submission or your request for quotes noticed, the importance of completing applications and how you do that matters tremendously. The recipe for a good narrative. I'll also provide a link to a downloadable template that you can use as a narrative. I'll give you tips on how to reduce exposure, show you an example of a narrative that a client put together for me. And then I'll share contact information as well. Kathe, I lost the slides. I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I cannot see the slides anymore. Technical difficulties, guys. Sorry, bear with us. All right, Kathe, let's go ahead and do the poll. Maybe that will trigger it to come back up on my end. Okay, do you have the live poll? And in the meantime, I'm going to open up my slides so that I have a backup just in case. All right, so the poll question is, which of the following insurance hurdles have you experienced? This is relevant of your most recent insurance renewal. Which of the following have you faced at your most recent insurance renewal? And please, everybody participate. I'll also share after the poll is complete, we'll take a look at your responses compared to another poll with similar questions that I did at a recent event. All right, we'll give it about 30 seconds more. There's still some responses coming in. And it should allow you to pick as many that apply. So if you experience multiple hurdles, feel free to select all that apply. All right, looks like the numbers stopped moving. Can we go ahead and share the results? All right, so y'all can see the results. I cannot. Let's look on the back end. So it looks like 11% of you faced non-renewal, 9% declination, 9% overcoming licensing violations, new and unexpected exclusions 6%, increased deductibles 17%, less coverage 15%, substantial premium increases 24%. I am not surprised that that's the largest. And then none of the above 9%. So let's take a look at that compared to the other event, and we'll just briefly go through that slide. So at the last event, similar attendance to what's on this webinar right now, non-renewal scored pretty high, so did new policy exclusions. Increased deductibles was the largest one. I didn't give them the option for higher premium increases because we actually covered that on another slide that I'll share with you. But as you can see, the biggest point of this webinar is that I want you to understand, guys, this is not an isolated incident. It is not a one state type situation. It's a national occurrence right now facing all child care providers, not just a select few. Next slide. So some of the trends that we're seeing, and again, the next slide will share some of the premium increases that people at the last event were facing, and that will be aligned with these as well. This is just based on my personal data. I have clients all over the US, and so I went through kind of compiling all of that information. So this is not relevant nationwide. I don't have access to other agents' information, but from what I am seeing for my own clients personally, the average premium increase per site in 2023 was around $3,300. Per site for 2024 has increased to just under $4,100. The average premium increase per site, if you've had claims, is much higher. So in 2023, that was $9,700, opposed to this year, which took a substantial increase. And I'm seeing per site increases of just under $16,000. And for a lot of childcare programs, especially individual site operators, those premium increases are really hard to maintain. It's not sustainable long term at all. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how can you position yourself in a way that paints your program as a smart risk to insurance companies so that you can lessen the likeliness that you would get or see those kind of premiums at renewal. Some of the other trends that we're noticing in the industry, clients being non-renewed over claims or declined over licensing violations. Insurance companies are really using your licensing violations and those inspection reports to determine how risky you are. So controlling and getting in front of those violations is going to be a key point to addressing your insurance renewal this year. Changing underwriting guidelines. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners recently published that the net loss ratio for the U.S. property and casualty market end of 2023 closed at 103.9. So 103.9% net loss ratio. So when you hear things like the insurance industry isn't making any money, that's why. The prior 10 years, the net loss ratio for the U.S. property and casualty market was between 69 to 76%. So 2023 was a really, really hard year. And one thing you'll hear a lot of insurance agents say is it's a hard market right now. Well, the reason for that is because of the $75 billion in losses in 2023 that affected the U.S. market alone. Some other things that we're noticing is insurance companies exiting locations that are prone to high risk. So wildfire, hurricane, tornado, any areas that are prone to, or it's not a matter of if, but when they have a claim, insurance companies are backing off of. Exiting childcare completely, we're seeing a lot of that. The number of insurance companies we had drastically declined this past year. And what are we facing this year so far? New ventures. If you are trying to start a program for the first time, they are running into tremendous difficulty trying to find insurance anywhere because of their lack of loss experience. Higher deductibles, we saw that in the poll. Less coverage being offered. We also saw that in the poll with new exclusions being added. Strict underwriting criteria. And then I'm getting requests here lately for as high as 10 years worth of loss history, which is something that I've never heard of in my insurance career ever. That's a wow, definitely a wow factor because nobody's ever asked that. Next slide, Kathy. So as far as premium increases at the last event, just to give you an idea, the majority of owners that were in that room that are all multi-site operators sustained, and they couldn't choose over 10,000. So some of them that were voting, we just told them to choose the 10,000 if their premiums were higher than that and there wasn't a selection for it. So the majority of the votes sustained $10,000 premium increases or higher per site. Absolutely crazy and unheard of for our industry. So what are we going to do about it? Next slide, please. Insurance companies are looking for, they don't care to insure just every business. Now they are really looking for smart risks. And the way to position yourself as a smart risk, you have to show them that you are a good candidate for somebody that's going to come in and partner with them on risk mitigation. What are you doing in your program that shows you are a good partner and a good fit for them? They don't want to insure just somebody that's looking for insurance, but doesn't want to help try and prevent their own claims. When I say a good partner and the right fit, they are looking for people that are trying to be proactive, that are implementing safety protocols and procedures, risk management, in order to help prevent claims from occurring. Some of the things that you can do to position yourself as a smart risk when it comes to approaching your renewal: gather and share these documents with your agent. Full copies of policies. If you are working with a brand new agent, please share full copies of policies without redacting the premiums. The whole purpose of working with a new agent is to try and find you better coverage. If we can beat the pricing, typically they will, but right now it's not really a market to try and find competitive pricing. Right now, the goal is to find you coverage, and you're running out of insurance companies to do that. So please be full disclosure, share your policy documents, provide the agent with loss runs. I would recommend no less than 5 years of loss history, and you would contact either your current agent or the insurance company directly. Your most recent licensing inspection reports. And the reason this is important is because the insurance companies are going to ask for these. If they don't ask you directly, it's probably because it's public data on your state's website. So what you want to do is know the violations that are in those licensing reports so that you can control the narrative. When insurance companies get online and they read things like, you got a violation for background checks, they're automatically thinking worst case scenario that somebody was recently released from prison and walking down the street and you just happen to be standing outside and say, hey, you want a job? I say that jokingly, but I want you to get the picture. Like, they are thinking worst case scenario. When you have a violation for access to hazardous chemicals, they're thinking there's a bucket of bleach sitting on a table right there with toddlers surrounded around it. So what we want to do is control the narrative painted by those negative violations. Anything that could pose potential harm to a children: background checks, access to cleaning supplies, broken or protruding parts on playground equipment, loose or broken fence panels, improper supervision, improper or out of ratio, all of those types of violations you've got to get in front of. Accreditation certificates. If you're an accredited program, provide that certificate, provide copies of your licenses, and then have a written abuse prevention, and reporting policy. Most insurance companies are now asking for a copy of this. So if this is not something that you already have, you need to work on that and get it as soon as possible. Highlight risk mitigation efforts with a narrative. I'll share tips on how to do that and provide you a template to be able to do it. Complete applications entirely and thoroughly. This one is very, very important. Insurance companies are only spending their time, the few insurance companies that are left insuring childcare are getting an influx of submissions. So we need to make your submission stand out. And the best way to do that is providing all the information that underwriting is going to need in order to work on your quote. Everything completely filled out. So when that underwriter looks at it, they think, wow, this one has everything I need. It's got it going on. They've completed a narrative. And in addition to the narrative, I, in September, went to an insurance conference, and one of the company reps that spoke there said they've gotten to the point where they're not even reviewing submissions that don't have a narrative included. And I found that really insightful. And that's the reason that I created a template I'm going to share with you today. We don't want your submission to be disregarded just because that's not included. But underwriting is having to be extremely selective on what they decide to quote just because they're receiving more than really they have the bandwidth for right now. So they're having to choose wisely and looking for the best ones to quote. And then give them ample time. Again, bandwidth is an issue right now. So start at least 4 months early. Most of you will not know until 30 to 60 days prior to your expiration date if you're going to be non-renewed. At that point, it's too late to start trying to find insurance. It's going to send you, you're not going to be sleeping at night, and it's going to send you in a state of panic. So start early, get ahead of it. If you don't get non-renewed, great, you have a renewal offer. But what if you do, and then you're stuck scrambling? So how you complete applications matter. Why? Well, when you leave things blank, like the construction type, the roof type, square footage, year built, all of those are questions that insurance companies have to have. And I get asked this all the time. Well, what if I just lease the building? It doesn't matter. The insurance company wants to know, even if you lease the building, was the building built in 1960? Has it been updated since 1960? If not, they're thinking, again, worst case scenario, you're running a childcare program out of a building built in the 60s that has never been renovated. It's never been brought to current code. So it's a wiring and electrical fire hazard waiting to happen. There's probably lead paint, all the things. So being able to show, especially if you have an older facility, what type of construction it is, that's also really important depending on the area you live in. If you live in a coastal state and you have wood frame construction, or at least that's what's on your application, but your building was built with hurricane straps, able to withstand winds up to 150 miles per hour, that makes a significant difference on whether or not you can get quotes, because one shows that your building's just going to blow away with the slightest amount of wind. And then the other shows that it can withstand those hurricane winds. Roof type, also important. If you have impact resistant shingles and you're in a high hailstorm area, makes a difference. Square footage, make sure you know, guys, I'm highlighting these because these are the 4 construction type, roof type, square footage, and year built, the 4 most commonly unanswered questions on my applications, and I cannot get a quote without them, period. That works for every agent. And if we can't find the answers and we have to rely on either public data or, scrambling to try and find those answers on our own, it's more than likely not going to be accurate. So make sure you know and answer these questions on your supplemental applications. Also provide your roof, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC updates were made. Again, very important, especially in older facilities, because you want to show that your facility is being well maintained. This is not a slumlord type of situation. You are actively trying to keep the building in the best shape possible to prevent any claims from occurring. Pay careful attention to how questions are worded. I recently had I have like 5 sections about, or 5 questions in a section about drop-in care. And one of the questions was answered in a way that made it sound like they do provide drop-in care. I can't find an insurance company at all willing to insure drop-in care right now. And I was getting declinations left and right, but I was going to try and find this client coverage. Well, come to find out, when I finally let her know, you're getting multiple declinations over the drop-in care. And she said, oh, did I answer drop-in care? That must have been a mistake. So making sure, because I can't always go through every question and catch things myself. I try, but making sure that you are paying attention to the wording and answering it accurately can also make or break your submission. Answer every question that applies. Do not leave any questions blank. And then attach supporting documents. Most of what we covered in the last slide, your licenses, the accreditation certificates, loss runs, all of that is requested. Occasionally, you'll get asked for financials or resumes or things like that. So whatever is asked for, make sure you provide it, because it will speed up when you're able to get a quote, or if you're able to get a quote. It makes all the difference. Okay, recipe for a good narrative. You've heard me mention this word narrative several times. So what is it? I want you to think of a narrative like the most compelling real estate listing you've ever seen. It's a high-level view, cover page type document that shows insurance companies that your program in childcare business is absolutely incredible, and this is why. In a real estate listing, it's worded carefully. There's the best photos in natural lighting. All the windows are open. Everything is clean and spotless, and it makes you want to see or purchase that property before you've ever even had a chance to see it. That's the goal of a narrative. We want to show the insurance company that your program is worth insuring because you have all the right protocols in place. The facility is well maintained. It's beautiful. It's well kept. You apply the right risk management, and you're really a good partner in trying to reduce your risk. So what are things that you want to highlight on a narrative? There are 5 key areas, all of which there's a spot for on the template: management, claims, training, protection, and maintenance. This is exclusive to your program. I will share some examples, but it needs to be customized to things that you have implemented specifically at each of your sites. Management, years of relevant experience and educational background, association involvement. I actually had I had an insurer apply almost a $5,000 premium discount for association involvement one time. So it is possible and relevant. Your philosophy toward making the premises safe and secure. Insurance companies want to know that you value that. Claims, address any claims that you've had, what happened, what you've done since then to keep them from happening again. If it's a situation like a liability claim, I had a client take a licensing violation one time and then retrained her whole team based on that one licensing violation. You could do something similar with a claim. If it was a liability claim, talk to the team. What happened to cause that claim? What compliance was broken? And then what can y'all do to make sure that it never happens again? But using that and showing that you're trying to be proactive and making sure that history doesn't repeat itself with claims is incredibly important. Training, this is a big one. Policy and procedures manual, helpful to share a copy of it. If that doesn't bother you, you may even be asked for it. Documentation of ongoing staff training. If you have above and beyond state required staff training, point that out. Written abuse prevention policy and frequency of abuse training. Again, frequency of abuse training. If you do above and beyond, point that out. Remedial staff training efforts talked about that in the last one. Protection, camera surveillance. PB&J TV has this incredible AI technology right now that can detect weapons. It can detect if a child has been left in a room unsupervised. Very fancy stuff, but would be worth telling your insurance company about. Their applications are not designed to capture all the risk management that you're implementing in your program. Burglar, fire, or water alarms, door alarms to keep children from wandering, exterior lighting, especially facing autos, entry protocol. If the application doesn't ask about it, but it's something you're doing to not only protect your premises, but the children in your care, mention that in the narrative. And then maintenance. Anything that you're doing around your facility, especially on a proactive basis to make sure that the property is being well maintained and taken care of. If you have a proactive maintenance schedule that you can share with the insurance company to show how often you have a licensed plumber or an HVAC tech or an electrical or an electrician come out and inspect those things. If they come out on an annual basis, let the insurance company know that. Next slide. So this is the sample narrative that I've put together. If you scan that QR code, it will open up a 4-page document. You'll see the 3 slides here, as well as an additional slide that you can provide pictures on. So the one that you see on the left is really just guiding questions. This is designed to help get your brain thinking from a risk management standpoint about things that the insurance company might be interested in hearing about. Not all inclusive. Not all of this stuff is going to apply to each and every one of your programs. It's just designed to be a tool to guide you in what would the insurance company want to know about that I've implemented in my program. And on the right is an example that I just kind of threw together to give you an idea of what the end result could look like. And then when you download the narrative, the middle image is a picture of what it's basically plug and play. So you can see it's fillable. You'll be able to type right into it. And then the pictures you click on and then drag and drop a photo into. But really be careful with the pictures that you upload. Just like with a real estate listing, you want to make sure that you use really clean and pristine photos. You want them to be the best quality, everything nice and put away how it should be. Don't take a picture and upload it if it's been a rough week at your center. All right, next slide. So what are some things that might make you less risky or super appealing to an insurance company? Definitely make sure that you highlight anything that makes you less risky. Hurricane straps is a big one with construction, especially in coastal states. Storm shelter or safe room. I had a Primrose owner in Oklahoma actually build an entire safe room in the center of her facility. That way, if there was ever a storm, all of her employees and the children enrolled would fit in that room. It helped me get her liability credits 1 year because the insurance company was impressed that she did that proactively in her construction. On-site security. Kevin Kilgore was a panelist at Shift this past year, and I reached out and asked if he wouldn't mind me giving him a shout out. I follow him on Facebook and was so impressed that he's got on-site security guards right now outside his monitoring his programs. And I love that, the peace and security that it brings to families that are enrolled, but that's a unique feature that does make them less risky that the insurance company might be interested to hear. Impact resistant shingles, again, if you're in a high hailstorm area, you want to make sure the insurance company knows about it. Water leak detection sensors. This is a big one in properties that are prone to freezing temperatures. There is technology that will allow you to not, even if you don't get the water leak detection sensors installed, you can have, there's an app and it will connect to your water flow shutoff. And if there's a leak detected, you can control it from the app and tell your phone, okay, cut off the water. That, especially if your on-site staff does not know where the water shutoff valve is and how to turn it off, incredibly important to get ahead of a significant leak or what could lead to a significant leak. And then PB&J-TV, again, mention about if you are enrolled with their program and have that AI technology, that's something that would be valuable to share with the insurance company. Next slide, please. Oh, and I also want to mention backup generators. That was something else that Kevin mentioned to me. If you paid extra when you were constructing your facility and have backup generators installed, absolutely mention that to the insurance company, because for things like in Texas, 2021, we experienced Ice-Mageddon. Almost half the state lost power, which means we couldn't maintain heat, even though we tried. The backup generators would be a really strong argument for why you are worth insuring, because you wouldn't have that same threat of risk of freezing temperatures and losing heat as the typical program. So just, again, to get you thinking, this doesn't apply to everybody. You may have other unique features in your program, but you want to highlight what those unique features are in your narrative. Some tips you can reduce exposure. We'll go through this really quickly. Annual inspections, plumbing, electrical, roof, HVAC. We know those are big sticking points for insurance companies. Also, make sure you collect certificates of insurance from any contractors. If there's any faulty work, I've had claims before with cubbies falling off the wall, and the insurance company was able to subrogate against that subcontractor because it was faulty workmanship that caused the damage and ultimately the liability claim. Exterior irrigation systems, have those checked. Keep drains, gutters, and roofs free of debris. Trees trimmed back from the building. Replace your water heater proactively. Please don't wait. They have a life expectancy. Know what that is and be prepared to replace it before it breaks on its own and floods your facility. Train your team on where your water shutoff valves are. If you don't know, they don't know either. Make sure somebody on staff at all times knows where your shutoff valves are. Install water detection sensors or leak flow detection connected to shutoff. We talked about that on the last slide. Next slide, please. How can you reduce fire sprinkler exposure? Fire sprinkler systems, again, in areas that are prone to freezing temperatures, this is a big sticking point for insurance companies right now due to the threat of property damage. Maintain adequate heat when at all possible. If you're not able to do so, and you do have backup generators, mention that. Ask for an approved antifreeze solution in wet pipe systems to prevent freezing. I can't remember what that stuff is called, but I want to point out, I spoke with a guy that does commercial installations for water sprinkler systems or fire sprinkler systems. And he told me that most of those companies are not unionized. And so what they do, they don't make it apparent to offer you a winterization contract up front, because they will collect more money from the insurance company after they do the initial install. Your pipes freeze and have to be completely reinstalled again. And I found that incredibly shady, but also worth mentioning, because that's not something, when you don't live in that world, it's not something you think about. So if you're not on a winterization contract with your fire sprinkler system company, get on one. Even if you're not in an area prone to freezing temperatures, get on one. Being able to tell the insurance company that, and applications do ask questions about the fire sprinkler system maintenance. You want to be able to tell them that, yes, you have the fire sprinkler system installed, and it's regularly maintained. Winterization starts in, September, whatever the case may be, to help ease their concerns about fire sprinkler damage. Insulate sprinkler pipes, that's another option. It's called heat tracing, I believe. Install heat wrap or heat tracing. Okay, next slide. Sorry, I'm trying to run through these fast because we're running out of time. How can you reduce auto exposure? Make sure that you have vehicles regularly inspected by a mechanic. If you have fleet telematics or GPS tracking installed, point that out. Have cages welded around catalytic converters. Y'all's buses and vans are targeted for catalytic converter theft, especially if you have multiple in the parking lot at a time. One really cheap thing that you can do, and I actually had a policyholder implement this and tell me that it worked. They took high heat fluorescent spray paint. I recommend pink personally, but you can choose whatever color you want. High heat fluorescent spray paint the catalytic converter, and then etch the VIN number into that part. The reason being, if a neon pink catalytic converter shows up at a scrapyard, they're going to turn it away, especially if it's got your VIN number etched into it, because then that part can be traced back via police report as a stolen part. So easy, etch the VIN number into the part and spray paint it with high heat fluorescent paint. Implement a driver safety program if you don't already have one. If you have no child left behind alarms in your buses, mention that. If not, install them. One of the ladies that I follow on Facebook had a vehicle returned to her because a thief that stole her bus could not figure out how to turn off the no child left behind alarm. So he just abandoned it and it was returned to her. Make sure you're ordering motor vehicle records on drivers annually, not just the time you add them to your driver list. This shows the insurance company that you're being proactive and making sure that nothing new appeared on a driving record that you wouldn't want them transporting people's precious cargo around with. Next slide. How can you reduce liability exposure? Really simple stuff. A lot of these things y'all may already be doing. The key is making sure your insurance company knows, or any new insurance company you're trying to work with knows. Floor mats and runners in wet areas. If you have One Place compliance software, I love their program, and it also identifies you as a best practices facility. How often do you have the playground surfacing replaced, or did you upgrade to something really fancy and have a better fall zone protection? Let them know. If you have monthly trainings on the most significant licensing violations and how to avoid them, point that out. Create a mentorship program that pairs new employees with seasoned team members. It shows the insurance company that you're trying to take those new employees under your wing and really give them the benefit of extra training and mentorship, so that they're not just, okay, well, you just finished your 30-day orientation, go watch those kids on your own. Like, there's so many things y'all already do. We just have to let the insurance companies know. We want to give them peace of mind. All right, next slide. So this is an example of a narrative completed by a client of mine. She's got multi-sites in Massachusetts. She had all of her own branding and a lot of this information already stored. So this is only 10 of the 21 pages that she actually put together, but I wanted to share this to show y'all don't have to use my template. You can create something on your own. If you have your branding and all of that already uploaded in Canva, have at it. Feel free to not only create this for your program, but I mean, you're putting the time and effort in. Why not use this as a safety prevention brochure whenever you're giving touring families, a walk around the facility? Parents would be just as interested to know all of the things that you're doing to keep their children safe. So I love that they took this and created it in their branding, because now it has a dual purpose use. So I just wanted to share that to give you another idea of what it could look like. Does not have to be exclusive to the template that I created for you. Next slide. All right, and then if you will scan this QR code link, it'll take you to the Contact Us page of my website. I've created an email template that you can all send to your legislators, making them aware of the insurance scarcity issue that childcare owners are facing. So if you'll just make sure the insurance box is checked, the industry is childcare, you can add the comment legislator email. That way it'll make it to me, and I can get you set up with that template. I can make all the noise in the world, but at the end of the day, I'm one person and it's y'all's businesses. So we really need the power of numbers, and I need your help in raising more awareness about this issue so that we can come up with some longer term solutions. And lastly, here's my contact information. I post regular updates on my Facebook page. And then my cell phone and email address if y'all have any questions. Again, if you've ever done, or in the future, if you need a resource, you just want to phone a friend, you can save my info for that. Yeah, what questions do we have?
Hi, guys. Samantha, are you able to see the questions in the chat box at the moment?
I am pulling them up. Am I looking under the live Q&A?
Yes, chat box and live Q&A both. And I'll have a couple questions if you're just while you're scanning. But while you're looking, I just wanted to say I think this is an amazing presentation, and gosh, full of great data. It's a great checklist and to-dos. I would recommend you take it one step at a time. We eat an elephant one bite at a time, because this is so much good information. Super impressed with the idea of looking ahead at your submission at least 4 months ahead. I had no idea they were backed up and that the insurance industry was under so much duress, to the tune of $1 billion or more of losses. So I think
75 billion.
Sorry, did you find it?
No, I said 75 billion to be exact.
75 billion is, when you hear the billion, you're just shocked, right? So, so that part is shocking to me. And, that's just how we calendar out our events for the year as owners, and our back to school and our marketing for summer camp. I'm definitely going to take that advice and start looking at least 4 months ahead and, getting straight. And then the templates are amazing. Looking at the template from the gal in Boston was excellent, but having a fill in, we can just kind of customize. I'm imagining doing it and then enhancing it every year, adding some of the things from the other slides as I go along. The other thing I love about this is, that you can use this actually for licensing as well. If you look at this template, really they kind of go hand in hand, quality and risk mitigation. So I'm planning to use a template like this to create for my, for when we have licensing inspections. I think, it could kind of be dual purpose. You spend all the time gathering all the great things you're doing. And I think as an industry, Sam, I know you know lots of us, I don't think we shout from the rooftops nearly enough, about what we're doing. We need to brag a little bit and be confident like we were at the beginning of COVID when we kind of led the way. But I know you have 2 questions. I'm going to go ahead and give you a chance to answer those. And then I'll do the door closer questions with you after you answer the questions.
All right. So I'm seeing Lillian's question. How does your company prioritize client protection while ensuring coverage extends beyond more technicalities? Many insurance providers seem to prioritize protecting themselves over genuinely assisting clients when claims arise. Can you elaborate on how your company goes above and beyond to support clients, especially those who have been proactive in risk prevention and have maintained good standing over time? That is a very deep question, and one that I would love to unpack when we have more time, and especially in depth with you to hear more about what's going on. As far as the claims, you're right. There unfortunately are some incidents with insurance companies where they, how can I say this? They tend to try not to cover certain situations, but having somebody that is really knowledgeable and knows the quality that's in your policy so that they can push back a little bit and say, okay, I hear what you're saying. However, according to the policy, this is what it reads. This is where I've found coverage. This is a specific form where coverage is claiming to have existed. Can you further explain why coverage doesn't apply if this form states that, a sub-limit of 50,000 exists for this particular coverage? Finding the right agent partner, and especially an agent partner that has a licensed claims adjuster that can help advocate for you, so incredibly important. All agents are not created equal. I didn't have time to go through that today, but I have a whole nother slide on how selecting the right agent is so important. But Lillian, you are welcome to call me and I will talk. We can have a whole chat session on your questions. Bryce asked, what are the key coverages that every childcare facility should should have? Are there certain limits you would recommend to each coverage? Yes, I actually have what I call the ultimate childcare insurance checklist. That it's a downloadable template, or not downloadable template. It's a downloadable document that tells you all the coverages that I recommend that childcare providers have, and what limits that you should seek to obtain. Now, granted, not all of those limits are going to be, some of those limits are going to be hard to find right now in the harder market. So I can absolutely send it to you. I don't have the link at my fingertips. But if you want to shoot me an email or text message with your email address, I'll send you the link so that you can download that. Absolutely. And then Ryan just asked, are there any insurance companies that are better at honoring / paying on a claim versus others? Yes, some of the companies that I know or that I have heard that are really good at paying claims. Hartford has a really good claim satisfaction score, but when it comes to childcare, they only insure work comp or property. They don't do any liability for childcare. Can you briefly explain how our agent helps or may affect us? So Greg, your agent has to know the markets. So let's say there are a couple companies that almost everybody can get an appointment with. If your agent only has access to like one of those companies, but not all of them, because this isn't an industry they typically focus in, maybe they're more of a generalist, then they're not going to have access or have a good knowledge of this particular industry. So having an agent, and this is not exclusive to childcare either. You wouldn't want to bring me your construction risk because I don't know that industry. You would want to find an agent that specializes in construction because they know the insurance market. They know the insurance companies that have the best rates, the best claims handling, all of that sort of thing. So when it comes to how your agent can help or may affect you, having an agent specialist is key.
Amazing. Okay, Sam, we're almost out of time, but we're doing this year. It's a new tradition with all of our guests, and we call them door closers, kind of related to our logo Hinge, that we open doors for people. And so 2 questions. The first one is, moving into 2024, we're still in the first quarter. Where do you see the childcare industry's greatest risk?
Right now, that definitely insurance scarcity based on all that I've covered so far. We really have to figure out what the sweet spot is for insurance companies again, right? We want to be able to position ourselves as smart risks that not only are worth insuring, but are a good fit for each insurance company. So battling through what is continuing to come down the pipeline with insurance scarcity, losing carriers, I definitely foresee it as our greatest risk for 2024.
Awesome. And then sort of the opposite, and a way to, of course, you already positioned it very positively on we can do this and we can do this together. But what do you see our greatest opportunity?
Yeah, so I love this question because, just like COVID, it forced us all to think outside the box. How can we continue to operate? What can we do beyond the scope of traditional? How can we pivot and move for long-term sustainability? And so right now, with the whole insurance scarcity issue going on, this gives us an opportunity to figure out what is an alternative insurance solution. Captive programs is something that we're exploring. There's also risk pools, which is something that I'm exploring. So this has never been an issue before. It's never forced our hand into looking at non-traditional insurance options. So I think the greatest opportunity for long-term is seeing what other viable options are there out there beyond what we know as your traditional insurance companies.
I love it. I'm going to offer my 2 cents on that too, because you highlighted it today. I think joining our voices together and working with legislators and, the government entities that really don't know our industry, they know our industry less well than insurance people do. So I think this is also a good opportunity for us to speak up and continue to use our voice and show America that we know what we're doing, and we provide great quality within safe environments. So I love that
you're essential. We need y'all.
Yeah, that's right. And Sam, that was amazing. Thank you so much. We're done.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We timed it perfectly. We've got 1 minute for me to do the last couple slides. Next month, please join us, April 10th. 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. You're going to love this one too. Kathleen McHenry, who has spoken for us at Shift in years past, and I think she might be coming again this year to Santa Barbara. She'll be speaking about ECEC, updates on federal and state funding. This is, again, one of those topics that I think owners don't necessarily always think they should seek out. And we think you should. This is going to be very, very good content. And then we love to know how we did. How did we you all like our content today? Answer, give us some feedback. We love it. We'll also, this happens to me a lot. If I attend a webinar, then I think of questions later. So certainly reach out to us and ask any further questions that we can get for Samantha to answer. Again, thank you so much for attending. And, here's a picture. This is a picture of our advisor team, our transaction team. But thank you again for spending an hour with us. It's a beautiful day here in Virginia. I hope you're having a great day too. And again, thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.